What is up, everyone? So the Cup race is done at Charlotte Roval race. Um, First thing to talk about, SVG gets the win, and not necessarily a surprise, though he didn't get it easily. Uh, Larson and Bell, those guys, they put a fight up this time around, but still with this with SVG and the way he can save tires and just be able to his ability to drive better than those guys, able to get the win. Um, Before we get into the negative stuff about the playoff system, kudos to Goodyear. They brought a tire that, man, I was kind of surprised about it because they weren't. When I understood, they didn't. I didn't hear anything that they were going to bring in different tires, or if they did, it wasn't going to be big of a difference. But they brought a different tire, and boy, we saw comers and goers. The pit strategy was insane. Usually, it's pretty much straightforward on the road course. If you want for points, you stay out. If you are going for the win, you'll pit with like 3 to go. Do the flip, do it again for stage 2, and then pit your last time halfway through stage 3, and you're done. But these tires wouldn't last more than 10, 11 laps at a time, and that's when you had to pit halfway through a stage and then pit again if you want to flip the stage again. So it was very interesting how that tire worked, and kudos to Goodyear. They brought a good tire. We saw comers and goers, not just on tire difference, but even if you were abusing your tires, you could end up not being able to stay in front of people that were doing better jobs. So again, kudos to Goodyear on that, and hopefully that's something more to come down the road at road courses and short tracks and stuff like that. Maybe just maybe we could sneak that stuff a little bit into the mile and a half. It's not a lot, but enough to where maybe there is some different strategies going on. All right, let's get into the unfortunate part, the negative part is the playoffs. I know we're being the dead horse out of this, and we're praying. I think a lot of people are that this playoff system goes. So at the end, it came down to Ross Chastain and Joe Logano to get that last final spot, and Ross had to do what he had to do to keep in front of him. The pit strategy, the way Joe Logano needed to, he actually pitted because he was falling off. The tires wouldn't, or he couldn't just hold on to the tires like he did, so he pitted. He gained some track position with his tires, but everyone else in front of him also were doing the same thing. Unfortunately, Ross had to stay out. It was too late. By the time Joey decided to pit, it was 11 laps to go. Ross had done within a lap or two. He decided not to. And Denny Hamlin, and we keep talking about Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's involved with pretty much everything in the sport right now. And part of another controversy at the end, he didn't know the situation at all. I kind of question a little bit of that. Can't believe a spotter's not saying anything. Hey, listen, the ones there. I understand they don't want to show favoritism, right? And they didn't want to get penalized for stuff. But I would at least have said, listen, the one is racing for the battle. Would have Hamlin changed his mind to pass him? Probably not. But his probably didn't tell Hamlin that Ross was about to go, 30 car lengths deep into the last chicane to take him out. And they didn't tell him that. Whatever. So, gotta work out the communication on that side. But Ross did lose that position, and which would have been a tiebreaker, and tiebreaker went to Joe Logano. So Ross does his Ross Chastain moves like he, does in the past, and he just drives in there and wipes Hamlin clean. I mean, what else? Yeah, would he probably have been penalized? Probably, whatever. But this is the playoff system. You do desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's what it is right there. And then NASCAR always like, oh, we don't want to go too far. I go, well, you're putting them in that position. If you don't want that kind of stupidity out of a driver, then you got to tone it back. And penalizing them doesn't do a damn thing. Because if maybe one time they do it in a way that it's not so egregious, maybe they get away with it, right? You're gonna do it. Hey, you're out anyways. So who gives a flying hoot, right? You might as well just go in there and clock them, and maybe see if you get away with it. So if you don't want this gimmicky BS crap to happen like that, then get rid of the playoffs, and you won't have it. But NASCAR, for some reason, has got this, I don't know what problem, ego problem, whatever. They just got this problem with them. And they can't help but act stupid, really. They can't help themselves to not change their ways. No matter how much we tell them this is not working, this is not legit racing, they still think this is the best stuff out there. Why? Because every other sport has a playoff. Why shouldn't we? Because they are games. This is racing. Two different things. The way we have to play, the teams that we use. Yeah, we use analogies all the time, right? Like a driver's the quarterback, the crew guys are the linemen, head coach. We do all that stuff, right? For football and whatever. But in reality, NASCAR has always been different from other sports. And if we try to mimic another sport, we'll just be that sport, and nothing has changed. And also, do you see all this gimmicky crap per se, all these shenanigans happening in football, basketball, baseball? No. If anything cheating otherwise happens in those sports, you get suspended, you get canned, or whatever. And they don't tolerate any of that. So why does NASCAR think that we have to be football, baseball, basketball, or whatever sport? We don't. We can be NASCAR. Now, I will understand if we do not go back to a 36-point system. I would get that. However, we do not need these knockout rounds. Chase was just fine, or a certain version of that was just fine. I am just fed up with it. And I just looked over at my screen on my TV, and I'm looking at this right now. Now, they're just showing a replay of the 16 and the 99. Now, the 99 didn't want to get penalized, so he just clocked the 16. I just saw that, so I'm sorry. I was just looking at the screen there. I don't think there'll be any kind of penalties from that, but either way, we're done. I think we're all done with this. A majority of people are done with this playoff. Now, you could say, oh, you just don't like Joe Logano. Well, you're right. I don't like Joe Logano. But do you really think Joe Logano is a true champion this year? If you really think that, then I can't help you. It's frustrating. It's getting beyond frustrating. I'm pissed. I'm on my wits. For the first time, I really truly can say this. I can't wait for the off season. I can't wait for it because it's just it's rinse and repeat every damn year. A non-deserving champion wins the championship. And it's getting, and the media, I want to say the media, I mean, most of the media actually kind of somehow agrees, but like NBC, I'm sorry, I'm calling out Jeff Byrne, Dale Jarrett, understand? I'm calling out all these guys on NBC, and I understand this is their job to make sure that They promote the best they can, talk about the best of everything, but they do not help what is going on here. Right now, they're saying, oh, that was a spectacular race. And let's be very clear, the race itself, besides the ending of that nonsense, the racing itself was actually pretty good. The tire actually helped the short track package there. But at the end, it just showed its ugly head again of what this playoff system is all about. It's about not being legit. It's about running over people. You don't care about how you race someone as long as I get in to the next round. And I'm fed up with it. A lot of people are. And it's time to make a change. And I'm going to say this. Doesn't have to be the 36-point system. Hell, it doesn't even have to be the chase. But it can't be this playoff system. You want to do something completely different, that's fine. But this playoff system, this knockout round crap, needs to go. So, we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully within the next couple weeks, we'll get more of an understanding. Okay, like they're having these meetings, and I'm hoping by maybe within the next couple of weeks, maybe before the champ. Now, granted, I'm not gonna say anything about the playoff system or the championship system until the off season. Okay, but that doesn't mean we won't get some rumors and speculations out there that like we're really leaning into this way. So we'll see how that goes, but. Yeah, and of course SVG will say quick. I mean, he's just dominant for courses. So, but one thing I would like to say about him, it was congrats to him last week on getting a top 10 at Kansas, and I'm hoping that he will carry that on to Las Vegas. If he can get a top 10 there, I will be more acceptable for him to being in, if they have next year a playoff system like that. More acceptable him being in it because he's at least been consistent enough to stay in the top 10. Will he go far? Probably not, but at least if he's consistently in the top 10 to top 12, okay. But yeah, we'll move on to next week. So it's the round of 8, and next week they go to Las Vegas, and it's Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville for round of 8. We'll see how all that goes. Anyways, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And subscribe for more content of NASCAR as well. If you like NASCAR. And yeah, see you for the next one.